While traveling in the ocean, he fought with those creatures as well. And Charybdis is the whirlpool that is created in the ocean. Ithaca is a Greek state to which Ulysses is the king. So he kept faith in his state, but he traveled all over the world. If you watch the movie Troy, then you will understand the topless towers of Troy. Troy is called Ilium in the Greek mythology. Hello students, I am Anil, Assistant Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today in this session, we are going to look at a poem, Ulysses by the Merlion, for the students of second semester BCom. In this module, we are going to look at the poet, the theme of the poem, the summary of the poem, and some of the new words which are in the poem. About the poet, this is Edwin Nadasen Tambo. He is a Singaporean poet and the academic who is regarded as one of the pioneers of English literature in Singapore. He is a famous English poet in Singapore. He is an emeritus professor at National University of Singapore. He is a professor at Singapore and he writes most of the poems in English language. He compiled and edited some of the first anthologies of English poetry and fiction from Singapore and Malaysia. So he is a famous personality from the University of Singapore and he is an English professor in the University of Singapore. So coming to the theme of the poem Ulysses by the Merlion, it is about wandering and rootlessness. He talks about Singapore. He uses some of the characters of Greek mythology to introduce Singapore. And he talks about wandering and rootlessness. He talks about unity in diversity in Singapore. And he talks about progress and modernization, hybridization, and loss of cultural identity, how Singapore was made, how people from different regions came to Singapore and created today's trade center, Singapore. Coming to the poem, he takes a Greek character, Ulysses. Ulysses is the character of Homer's Odyssey. He is a man of experience. He is full of experience and life. He does not want to sit quiet. He wants to do something adventurous in his life. So the poet takes this character to explain Singapore. And here in this poem, Ulysses is the speaker of this poem. Ulysses, he speaks, "Here I is Ulysses. I have sailed many waters, skirted islands of fire, contented with sirs who loved the squeal of pigs, past Scylla and Charybdis to 7 years with Calypso." So he gives his life experience as an adventurer. He says that he has sailed many waters. He has traveled to different oceans. He has traveled long. If you travel, then you will understand life. You will understand different culture. You will understand more about life. That sums up to the experience of you. Similarly, this man says, "I have sailed many waters." That itself signifies that he is a man of experience. Skirted islands of fire. He talks about his adventure. He has gone roaming the world and witnessing islands of fires and contented with sirs who loved the squeal of pig. Sirs is a sorceress. And he says that he had fought with such a sorceress. She loved the squeals of pigs, sounds of pigs. Then he says, "I passed Scylla and Charybdis." Scylla is a sea monster with 6 heads. While traveling in the ocean, he fought with those creatures as well. And Charybdis is the whirlpool that is created in the ocean. So I have witnessed them all. I have come across them all. So this gives his experience. And 7 years with Calypso. Calypso is a nymph and she detained Ulysses in her island for 7 years. So he talks about his experiences and adventure. And he lived in battle against the gods. His experience does not end with earthly creatures, but also with gods. In the Battle of Troy, when gods take sides between the fighting teams, he fought against gods as well. So therefore he says, he in the battle against the gods. Beneath it all, I kept faith with Ithaca. Ithaca is a Greek state to which Ulysses is the king. So he kept faith in his state, but he traveled all over the world. to attain experience. Then I traveled, and traveled. This expresses his ambition to gain more knowledge and experience, suffering much and enjoying a little. So, with sufferings, people gain experiences more compared to that of pleasure. So, he says, I suffered more but enjoyed a little. Met strange people singing new myths, made myths myself. So while traveling, I met different types of people, their tradition, their language, their culture, their experiences of life. They shared their stories with him, and he started to create some of the stories on his own. So these things made Ulysses a man full of experience, a man craving for adventure, a man who wants to see more in life. Now he talks about this creature, lion. He talks about nothing foreshadowed this half fish. If you saw this half fish, the symbol of Singapore, half beast and half fish, this powerful creature of the land and sea, both land and sea. This is the sign of Singapore. This is the insignia of Singapore. People settled here. Now he talks about how Singapore was made, how Singapore was built. People came from different parts of the world. Those people, they were there in Singapore. They all came and settled down. They brought to this land the bounty of these seas. They brought the treasure of the sea onto this land. Singapore built towers topless as Iliums. If you watch the movie Troy, then you will understand the topless towers of Troy. Troy is called Ilium in the Greek mythology. So he says they built skyscrapers. They built towers topless as Iliums. They make, they serve, they buy, they sell. So they prepare something. They buy, they sell. The trade is what is making Singapore thrive, and it is achieving progress. Despite unequal ways, together they mutate. So people, they come from different land, they have now settled, they have become Singaporeans. Though they have unequal ways, they are now mutating together. They are one Singaporeans now. They explore the edges of harmony, search for a center. They are trying to find a way to remain peaceful. They are searching for a center. They have changed their gods. They brought their gods along with them when they came and settled down here. They have brought their traditions as well, their beliefs, their thoughts, etc., which is signified with their gods. They kept some memory of their race. They also have faith in their race, their root, their source. That is reflected in their prayer, their laughter, the way their women dress and greet. So their tradition is also preserved with their day-to-day life. They hold the bright and the beautiful, good ancestral dreams within new visions of shining argent, full of what is now. When you see Singapore right now, everything is preserved in their culture. Now they are Singaporeans, but when you deeply observe them, you will find their roots back to their origin, back to their gods. Perhaps having dealt in things surfeited on them, their spirit yearn again for images. Perhaps having dealt in things, they have experienced more in life, which has put upon them, which has been laid upon them. Their spirit yearn again for images. Now they want to have one more image for themselves as Singaporeans. Adding to the dragon, the Chinese origin people, they brought their dragon and they added phoenix to it, people from African origin, and Garuda and Naga, people of Indian origin, and those horses of the sun, this lion of the sea. That picture of the lion and fish. They brought everything from their ancestral memories. They mixed up everything and now they are with this lion of the sea, with the lion face and fish body, this image of themselves. Now this image is not of others, it is of themselves. Now Ulysses is really surprised to see how these people are going through with all these images, memories, traditions, customs mixed up, making Singapore a wonderful country and a prosperous country. Edwin Thumboo uses this character, Ulysses, a Greek character, mythological character, to explain what Singapore is and how Singapore was made. These are some of the new words which you have to understand. Heaved means produced. Ithaca is the name of Greek island to which Ulysses was the king. Myth is a traditional story, what you call Purana. Wondrous means inspiring a feeling of wonder and delight, marvelous. Promontory, a point of high land that juts out into the sea or a large lake. Bounty means reward. People brought reward of the sea to this land. Mutate means they are undergoing a change to become one in Singapore. Surfeited means to consume too much of something. The identity of Singapore. So with this, Edwin Thumboo is making an attempt to express what Singapore is through the eyes of one of the mythological characters of Homer, that is Ulysses. So with this, we'll end this session. We shall meet in the next class. Thank you.